You know what? You were telling me something really cool the other day. Was wondering if you'd say it again, but you were talking about before you met me, before you met this community, or even knew about Clarity or any of the works or anything, your relationship with music, about the instruments being your friends, or
Well, because I love playing the piano and the guitar and drums, and there's also hand drums and all kinds of percussive instruments, I've always felt like they've been my friends.
Yes.
So, and I feel like they've been on this journey with me in all different ways. So sometimes I'm really exclusively with the piano as that form of expression, and then sometimes it's the drums, and then sometimes the guitar will have sat there for months, and then all of a sudden it's time to get the guitar out. I just kind of like wait and listen to what feels. They all have like a different feeling, of expression. So and drumming is really helpful working out all kinds of emotions. So sometimes you need that physicality, and the reverberation, and then sometimes the expression of the piano is just so beautiful. And sometimes you just need the strings on a guitar and just need to feel the deliciousness of all your fingers just like moving across strings and strumming, and just so there's like this orchestral feeling of having all of these different friends. But it's always like coming home with them, and it's like they have a mutual understanding. Like I don't feel like they've felt left out,
No.
but I keep them all together in our room, and we've got a beautiful wall where we can hang things, and so I can look at them and cherish them when I'm not actually using them at the moment. But somehow I feel like they're still quite animate and alive.
Yes.
And so because I've wanted to intention that with them, so they're not just things to me. They really truly are friends, and they always help me no matter what I pick up to play. They always help me feel that pulse inside myself, my rhythm that I need, and it's such a joyful expression, all of them. So even the ukulele will pop out.
Yes. And one of my favorite things that you've shared with me a lot too is how much that relationship and that friendship with those instruments, that it's like as we have come together in our relationship, and as if we move through this work daily and a daily practice in the different books and oracles and things that we're committed to as a community, and what you're always saying to me, oh my gosh, this has just revealed a deeper level of my relationship with this instrument. What I just read, or what we just had talked about in class today, or in studying some of the work, or this oracle, like Kristina was just sharing about the omnidirectional number 21 when she picked that out. That each time it takes her, you talk about this journey that you go on that is deepening. It's like a friendship that gets deeper, a relationship that gets deeper with time, because you get to know the nuances and the intricacies, and that pulse you were just talking about. I mean, I love how you've talked about that this work has given you language to express what you have felt about music and your relationship with the instruments for so long.
It's a feeling language, and so what it activates in me is something that you can't plan that or analyze it or logically put it down. This is something that's like, it connects with the intuitive, and so this is like an autodidactic,
right? Because you are a self-learned, self-taught.
And I've had some teaching over the years, but nothing I would call formal. So it allows me to step into the flow of the notes
Yes.
instead of like trying to analyze and, oh, this has to come out perfect, and oh, you
Figure
know,
it
that's
out.
what this chord and that progresses to this chord. Like, so I actually, if I had to redo this song, I'm not exactly sure what all the chords really are. I mean, I'm familiar with chords. I know how they all connect in a lot of ways, but I don't always think it out. And so it just comes to me. So trying to replicate this music isn't always easy, because it's kind of like the soup du jour. It's like that's what came out for the day. It's like,
yes.
And so, and I have to trust that and know that I'm just like loving the bliss of being inside a song and not have the limitations of like the music, you know, just that foundational music stuff and theory and all of it, like worried about it being perfect. That's not really what this is. So the intention is for the creative expression and connecting with the divine and being able to just be inside that flow. And so this work of clarity really helps open that up for me and access that place beautifully. So I feel forever grateful for that. And because I used to write all kinds of music and play all kinds of different all these same instruments, but in completely different ways before this, before knowing about this kind of work that works with the feeling and the heart level. And so it's allowed me, and as we've come together in our love, it's allowed the song in my heart to come forward, and it's purely intuitive. And so I feel really blessed, and I feel really grateful for what this has opened for me. And I love how it keeps growing in all different levels. So there's times where I will just do something really kind of silly with the guitar and do like a little bass sound, and then I'll add a little shaker, or, you know, and do kind of silly things. And then there's like some really profoundly deep things too. And then sometimes I'll be able to put some songs together in like a looped thing. And they're just wonderful. And so as we play them later, I can't believe how much they nurture us with, you know, if we're working through something challenging, or if we're down in the kitchen together trying to cook a new recipe, and, you know, sometimes that can be a little bit more challenging. It's like it somehow diffuses all of that and allows us to enter a different flow, a flowy space.
It's the place where we meet.
Yeah,
it's that pulse where we are one. And it gets us back to that place faster than anything can do that.
It's true. And one thing I just wanted to mention is, because Suzanne is the cook and I'm her sous chef. I'm learning. And what's interesting is the other night when we had the family over, we needed to come up with a plan for some dessert.
Yes.
And you were feeling like you were kind of coming up with something with, you know, that involved pears and maybe, you know, we weren't sure, and puff pastry and different
custard.
things. And it was starting to sound a little complex. And then all of a sudden I realized I had heard the note, because you know the note with food.
Yes.
You know the note, what will help us all assimilate and take in our lives. So you know what to reach for, kind of like how I am able to do that with music. And then all of a sudden I realized you were going after something. And I was trying to reach for that same thread.
Just like you would on the piano.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I realized so I heard baked pears.
Yes.
You know, with cinnamon and and honey.
Yeah.
And it was like, and you were just like, oh my gosh,
that's
so perfect. But I recognized the feeling. It wasn't something that happened in our minds.
Right.
It was all of a sudden, we both realized that was it. And the only way I found that note is because I recognize it with what I do with music. And so it allowed me to recognize that collaboration that we have together. And even though it's in like two separate places, it's really not separate.
No, because we're both going for a note.
Yeah, and we felt it, the idea. It was almost like you could feel it felting together.
Yeah.
And it was so delicious when we had it that night, and it felt like, because that was the right note.
Yeah.
And so I just love how not only your love for music and appreciation for music, you know, is like, you know, that is so helpful and appreciative when I make music, you know, that you love it. But I love that when we're in the kitchen together, I'm like kind of reaching and growing to kind of learn more about all of that world. And so together we're really making music and cooking no matter what we're doing. And I feel really grateful for that expression together.
Too. And see that what's happened for me is because music is so much feeling the way you do it, not the music theory and all that, that deep intuitive listening. That what you have unlocked for me is how to feel, and on the feeling level, the heart-mind level, and get out of my head. That has been my biggest challenge, is to quit figuring things out, planning, making sure everything's just so and just perfect, instead of just feeling and flowing. And cooking has been a way for me as a journey, a spiritual journey, to get to that feeling note of food, rather than it turning out perfect or having perfect recipes or following something and figuring it out. It's more going to that note. And the more I hear your music, the more that of that gift, then it's helped me to continue to trust and drop into that heart space of feeling my way through life instead of thinking my way through life. So I am so grateful to you, my love.
Well, thank you. And I'm actually, I've been amazed at how beautiful your brain works, and how both of our brains can be. I think we're really truly all integrated. I don't think it's necessarily left brain, right brain, but for the world's sake, you know, you being more left brained and me being more right brained, I've so appreciated all of those things about you that are your strengths. You using that beautiful brain that might go towards the left brain strength, because that's not my strength. So,
we make a whole. We're perfect.
It blends beautiful, because there is a place for thinking and feeling together. The knowing and feeling, which can help with recognition and everything else. So it really is a beautiful collaboration when you put both of our brains and both of our hearts together.
It sure
in
is.
sync. So I'm really grateful for this conversation.
Me too. And I feel like that with your music, it's an endless conversation.